I've never had the type of relationships with my parents, either of them, where we really discuss relationships. So I never had any sit-down conversations with my mom about what to expect from a woman or how to treat a woman. Most of those things I kind of had to pick up on my own. And my dad, I never had any conversations with him either. He just wasn't really the type of guy that would sit you down and would want to talk about relationships. We talked about sports, we talked about other stuff, but never relationships or anything like that.
No, my dad is not a person you can have relationship conversations with because he doesn't take it very seriously. He's kind of like, ha ha ha, because he's never been literally in our lives, like me and my brother's life. So he's not a person that you can sit here and say, Dad, I'm like gonna marry this guy, or like I really love this guy, because he is just not.
Me and my dad didn't talk too much about relationships. I did a lot of watching how he was with my mother, and so that taught me a lot about how men should be present, how they should be loving, how they should be helpful when it comes to kids and caring. So that's a lot of what I learned from him. He was always there for me if I needed to talk about something in a relationship wise. He was always there and still is. He's willing to talk, but he wouldn't usually come to me first.
My father never spoke to me about relationships or what to do in a relationship, who to be. Like, that was just off limits with him. He was just focused on raising me, and that's it.
He was the type of father that was kind of like emotionless. Like, my father was very stern, but we never had like those daddy-daughter like conversations. Like, even for me to like hug and kiss my dad, it still kind of feels weird. Like, me and him got closer when I went off to college. But for a while, like, witnessing, you know, my dad and my mom being like violent with one another, I kind of like hated my dad for a while. And then when they split up, I blamed him for it. Granted, there's always two sides to every story, so you don't, you know, my father's telling me one thing, my mom's telling me another, but who really knows the truth?
The first thing that my father told me, a woman will always get up under your skin to the point where she'll make you want to put your hands on her, but that's not the way how to handle it. You gotta have patience.
I would have to say that from him, it was more of his behaviors and made me see what I wanted in a man. He just was very hardworking and a provider by nature. And he wasn't very emotional, though. I kind of wish he was more. I mean, I'm a girl, so I guess I kind of wanted that from dad. But relationship-wise, I definitely wanted someone like my dad who got up and got it done by any means possible.
He would drive. That's a big one. If I'm going anywhere with a guy, I am not driving. I get that from my father. My father never let my mother drive. We would go to the grocery store, and my father would drop her off at the door. She'd go grocery shopping. She'd come out. He'd pick her up at the door. So small things like that have definitely shaped how I interact with men and what I expect from them when I'm dating as well.
For my father, it was basically, you know, at this point when we had this conversation, I didn't have sisters at the time, but it was, you know, you always treat females the way you would want your female relatives to be treated, you know. So growing up, I've never seen domestic, whether, you know, occasions, whether it be verbal, physical, that was never an issue on either side.
I think I date my dad. Like, my dad's personality. Like, the good-looking man, the tall guys, the everybody wants guy. And, like, they always have with different women. And I'm, like, trying to be the main one because I'm, like, I can be that.
When I looked for people, I looked for people who acted like my uncle, who was basically, like, a father figure to me and my brother. So anybody who I can find who I thought had the qualities that my uncle had is what I gravitated towards.
A lot of times I would look for my father in men. And so I mostly would date people who were very different from me or opposite from me socially. So I had to really learn some things from my mom about how to deal with that because that's difficult.